Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny Westerkamp, and I am the founder of All Access Dietetics. I am also a Chicago based registered dietitian and a sports dietitian. So, in addition to running All Access Dietetics since 2000, oh my gosh, 2008, I also am a sports dietitian. So, I'm in my fifth season now as the team dietitian for the Chicago Bulls. Previously worked for the Chicago Cubs as their minor league nutritionist for a couple years, and then prior to that worked for a food service company, a catering company that was all about anti-inflammatory diet and very healthy prepared meals. And then before that, I started my career in sports with the Chicago Blackhawks dietitian and did a internship with her, which led into 4 years of working for her, assisting her with the Blackhawks and being the minor league nutritionist for their affiliate team. So I've had quite a career in dietetics. It's been really fun. So for those of you that, you're about to enter into this, you have a lot of options and exciting opportunities ahead of you. There's so many different fields, areas of dietetics that you can go into. I'm not even really mentioning any of my smaller gigs that I was doing and trying out in the early years when I was just trying to explore what I liked and didn't like. So you have a lot of options ahead of you. It's a very exciting field. And even in the last 13 years that I've been a dietitian, it has just gotten even better. So today I am going to talk with you about what you need to know to become a dietitian. And the whole purpose of this is just to give you kind of an overview of the different pathways that you could take to become a dietitian, especially with some new changes that are going on with the education requirements. And then also, so it'll be like the first part, and then the second part will be more around the application process, whether that's applying to graduate programs or dietetic internships. Those, there's a strategy there because they are competitive, and we want to make sure that that's not going to be a reason that you don't continue on and become a dietitian. It is an obstacle for people, and it's something that you just want to have a lot of knowledge about. The more you have, the better. The more you'll feel prepared, more confident. So that's what today is about. We'll give you the overview on both those things, and then some free resources and tell you how to get those at the end. So again, the agenda today is talking about the different program types, the 2024 changes, example pathways to becoming a dietitian, and how you kind of can create your own path based on your goals and your interests. Then we'll talk about 3 experiences that you can have to stand out before you apply, 3 application strategies, and then we'll talk about the free DI toolkit that we have. All right, let's jump right into it. So with program types, I want to do a little bit of a definition round here. For those of you that maybe don't know what these titles mean, we'll go through each of them. So coordinated programs, these are programs that have the DPD coursework plus the supervised practice. This is typically at a bachelor's level, but sometimes there are graduate programs that exist that are DPD classes plus supervised practice. And this is good for career changers, if it's the master's level or bachelor's level, kind of a great thing because once you get into that bachelor program, then you automatically will get through that supervised practice instead of having to apply separately. So if I ever had someone come to me that was a sophomore or, maybe in high school, I would be guiding them towards looking at coordinated programs so they didn't have to go through the application process, and rather they would just, get accepted there and be all good to go. These are going to be changing with the 2024 deadline, but as of right now, they do still exist. And then the next definition here is didactic programs in dietetics, which most of you probably are in. And this is just the coursework portion of the requirement for sitting for the RD exam. The dietetic internship, that will be supervised practice, and it sometimes has coursework involved if it is combined with a graduate program. But sometimes it can just be only the hours, the supervised practice hours, and it's between 1,000 and about 1,200 hours is the requirement. Individualized supervised practice pathways. There's not that many of these, but they do exist. And this is supervised practice, similar to a dietetic internship. It can be either distance or on-site type of program. And you're eligible for these programs if you went through the process of applying and did not get matched, or if you already have your PhD, then this is a pathway that's available to you. And finally, future education model graduate programs. These are new, obviously with future. They have been around for about 3, 4, 5 years maybe since the first piloted program, but they are now going to be the future, of course. So it's been a slow rollout, which is good because in education, a lot these things take time. But this new model is essentially the courses and the supervised practice, but at a graduate level, and so at a little bit more accelerated level. I'll explain more in the different pathways later on. Now, when you're thinking of your next step, whether you're, depending on who you are and whether you're in the DPD program right now, or maybe you already did that and you're kind of like working, or you're in between, or early on in your journey, like a sophomore or junior or something, the biggest thing to know is to start your research. We do have a free dietetic internships toolkit, which includes our accredited programs database in there, which includes all the different types of programs that are available. So that's very easy for you to navigate, filter. You basically download it to your computer and you can filter that. And then there's also, if you just Google accredited dietetics programs, there's a list on the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics website. You just can't download and edit it or filter it by a lot of different things like our database, but it's another way to do your research and start browsing different program websites. I think it's really important just to kind of set the foundation for yourself of what is out there, what makes certain programs different from others. When I'm working with like a coaching client, like a Get Match coaching client from that program, we are usually saying, hey, get on 10 different program websites, even if you know you're not going to apply to them. And it just gives you a sense of the overall field, how they're different from one another. And it helps you understand the big picture better so that you can then know how to talk to directors in a way that they kind of understand, and you understand more about what internships are like. Now, with the 2024 changes, there is going to be a graduate degree requirement in order to sit for the RD exam. For those that may be a little concerned about this, since that is coming up, you just have to complete the supervised practice requirements before January 1st, 2024. And you don't have to pass the exam before 2024. So that's a really important thing, because I can only imagine the stress that would come from people, signing up for the RD exam December 30th. And if they don't pass, it's like the difference between them having to go back to school and getting the RD. That would be insanely stressful and a lot of pressure on that. So luckily, it's just completing the requirements of the supervised practice, the internship, in other words, that you would need to do. And then you will have, there's no limit on how long you would need to take to get the RD, as far as I know. I'm not sure if they'll change that in the far future, but yeah, like you could take it a year from now in like 2025, assuming that you had the supervised practice, and pass it then and be able to have that RD credential. The other interesting thing to note is that your graduate degree can be in any specialty, assuming that you do have the DPD coursework done. So that would be, you can get an MPH, you can get a standard Master's of Science, an MBA, PhD, of course, is another option that you can do. So those are kind of the changes that are happening. And as I said, I was going to get a little bit deeper into the future education model. This took me a little bit to understand myself. I had to talk to a lot of internship directors and be able to see, like, how is this different from a combined master's in dietetic internship program, which already exists? So what makes it the future education model? So based on what they have told me, it's really how they're changing the curriculum so that it's competency-based education. Previously, there were set time frames for each rotation. So they would say like 400 hours in clinical, 400 hours in management, whatever it was for that specific program. But now it's based on the time you spend in those rotations is based on how quickly you cover the competencies. So it's a little bit more student centered, which is really a trend among all education, not just within dietetics, to where it's trying to be more personalized pathway for a student and at the rate that they're, that they need. And then the competencies are designed to be more comprehensive and at a higher level than the current dietetic internship and coordinated programs. And so that just, again, is showing how they're trying to elevate the profession, try to improve the training, do it at a higher level, to kind of increase the skills and the competencies that future dietitians will have. So that's the basics of the future education model. And then just to go back up to these top bullet points here, some existing programs are going to be converting to the future education models. They're changing their curriculum, their competency, how they're guiding students through the program, and they're changing their admissions requirements as well. The admissions requirements for these FEM programs do vary. Some require specific prerequisites. Some require you take them at that school that you're going to. Others say you could take them anywhere. And some FEM programs are still requiring a DPD program completion to apply to their programs, but I would say most are starting to go more to like the 3 to 5 courses that are required to apply. And again, they're changing the name of like rotations or supervised practice to being called supervised experiential learning. All right. So like I said, there's a lot of little nuances and things that make this different, but it is the future. It is going to be operating at like a, graduate level. So those are the key points. When you're seeing that on program websites, you know how it would be different than if you saw like a master's plus internship program that was not an FEM program. All right, here's the big question, the elephant in the room for those of you that are maybe in the position where you do not need to get the graduate degree right now because you're in that last cohort where you would be able to complete your internship only, and you have the DPD, let's say, then you could finish it with time to spare with the 2024 deadline. It's a big question, and I get the question a lot. And I know that academic advisors, they do often, based on what students are telling me, they're often pushing the graduate degree. Certainly, perhaps a bias there because they are in academics and they maybe think that that's based on their experience that that's something that they think a student would benefit from. I know I have a bias on my end just because I am in more the real world side of things, meaning that I just see it like from the standpoint of job competitiveness. I personally think there's a lot of other things you can do to have a great career, and it doesn't totally rely on a graduate degree. But that said, again, lots of exceptions to that rule, lots of personal reasons why you would or would not get a graduate degree. And I'd like to bring that perspective here just to give you that and make sure that you're not just hearing one opinion or one side of things. So I do think it should be a heck yes decision because it is a big investment. And if you feel like it would be stressful to take out a loan or, just to invest that much money, then you want to make sure that you've thought through that you know that it would help you and that it is something that you're doing not just out of fear that, oh, other people will have a master's degree and I won't be competitive for jobs. There's a lot of ways to sell yourself or to network or to get those jobs without a graduate degree. Of course, if there's a job with a graduate degree requirement, that's a whole different story. And I did mention here, like for some specialties, this is an advantage. So that's where you'd want to be exploring that and seeing, is this really going to help you specifically based on what your next 5 years look like, right? Because there are, like I said, many ways to increase salary or job opportunities that don't involve a graduate degree. And I forgot, I am biased not only because I'm not really in academics necessarily, like in that standpoint, but I also have never gotten my master's degree. So that's why the final suggestion here is to get opinions on this. And I say six opinions. So talk to 3 people that have their master's degree or graduate degree, and then talk to 3 people that don't. And ideally, it's in a specialty that you're interested in exploring within that first 5 years of your career. And that can be how you can make the best decision for yourself on what is right for you, and whether right now is the best time to get that graduate degree, and if you know what you want to get it in, if you're really, really excited about a program. So yeah, that's a very loaded question. As you can tell, it's one that I kind of feel strongly in, that it is the last year that you can have that choice, and so I really want students to take advantage of that and make sure they're doing kind of like what we've been doing all along, where it was never a requirement. Just make sure it's the best choice for you. Do your research, and just know that if you don't, like, there's plenty of opportunity, and you're not putting yourself like in a bad position necessarily, but it could be a benefit for you depending on what direction you want to go. Now with this 2024 timing, again, the whole the fact that you just have to complete your DI by December 31st, 2023 is the big thing to know here. And then that earns you the eligibility for the RD exam. Then you do not have to pass it before then. So I put some deadlines up here just for sake of time. You'll have the slides so you can read through those. But there are two deadlines for the application, and you should be able to apply to either this February 15th, 2022 deadline or the September 25th, 2022 deadline, assuming the program completes by the end of 2023. Now that I want to go through the 6 pathways to becoming a dietitian, and these I've just heard these are like the 6 most common. I'm probably missing some. There's certainly a lot of different ways that people have become dietitians, and I like to point this out too, just because I know some people think, okay, I'm in this 4-year undergrad degree, and then I need to, the following year, I need to do the internship, and then I start my job, or I do my grad school and then start my job. But, something that I like to point out as well is you don't have to do that all right away. Like, there's people that take time off to save money or work. There's people that separate years between their graduate degree and then their internship. So just know that that's something that can be done. It doesn't have to all be in a row. And then also for these pathways, I think a lot of it depends on like what your journey has been up to this point of getting into the supervised practice portion. And that's where a lot of people don't even realize that the types of programs and pathways that they have available to them that could be cheaper, could be faster than what they think is possible. So that's why I want to go through these. So first, if you have a bachelor's degree in anything, so if your first bachelor's degree was in education or finance or music, or if you're a career changer of any kind, you do have a lot of different options. It's actually interesting. So first, you could do a coordinated program, which would be the coursework supervised practice. That'd be all in one, either at the bachelor level to get a second bachelor's degree, or at the master's level. There's not as many of these, but they do exist. The other option is applying to a future education model program that does not require a DPD, since some do still have that currently as an admissions requirement, but many do not. And so all you would need to do for those is take the prerequisites and then complete the program and sit for the RD exam. What's really, really cool about this for career changers, if any career changers are listening, many before FEM programs existed, career changers, let's say you had a bachelor's in music, they had to go through an entire DPD program, which was often 3, maybe 4 years, depending on their previous degree. And so now it's only 2 years to the RD. And this is great because it's less money. It's, you're less time, of course, and you're getting the master's degree in the future model and that accelerated training. So, that is a much easier route for people than it has been in the past, which sometimes it's been for some career changers, it would be another 4 years. And then maybe they'd want to get their master's and their internship in addition to that. Now we're looking at 6 years when you could do all of that in 2 years. Pretty fascinating. So hopefully that helps someone in the audience who maybe didn't know that was an option. And then if you are in your junior year or earlier of a DPD program, then you're looking at applying to, you will need the graduate program at that point. So you would be applying to the graduate school or internship only, and then doing the graduate school after that. or a combined graduate plus internship program. You could also apply to a FEM program. Then you should have the prerequisites already for the FEM program, and then you would just complete that and be able to sit for the exam. There are programs that combine the bachelor's, master's, and supervised practice into a 5-year program. I'm not sure if those exist in your state, but those are there, and they can kind of be this all-in-one. And also, if I've talked to students that if they want to transfer, if they're open to, obviously transferring to another school is hard for social reasons, emotional. Like I know that could be a big change for some people, but if you do transfer, then you're just looking at how that could save you time by going into a coordinated or kind of an accelerated 5-year program, getting it all done, and being able to sit for that RD exam after that. Third pathway is if you're in your senior year of a DPD program or in your final year, depending on your path, then you have the option to apply to a dietetic internship with or without a graduate degree at this point. And then you could also apply to a future education model graduate program, since those do exist. And then you would complete that and sit for the RD exam. If you are a DPD graduate that never applied, so you maybe decided, like I said earlier, with the timing, like you decided not to go right into the internship, maybe you're working, family, personal reasons, whatever it is, then the options that you have would be, if you apply within these next 2 application rounds, then you can apply to a dietetic internship with or without a graduate degree, or the future education model program. One thing to point out for anyone that's been waiting or months or years to apply after their DPD, you do want to keep a lookout for your recency of education. And what that means is typically you need to have MNT and biochem within the last 5 years. You need to have taken those classes. If not, then you would just have to take refresher courses, or some programs will take the DTR exam as a fulfillment of the recency of education requirement. And so you just want to make sure you're up to date on that. And then you would complete your program and sit for the RD exam after that, whether it's internship or the FEM program. For anyone out there who is a DPD graduate that maybe you applied but then received no match, in addition to what I just said about the DPD graduates, you also have the ISP option, the ISPP option. That is the type of program that is usually just the internship, that is only for people that did not get a match previously. Interesting fact about ISPs is that they do show up in the second round being right around November for the fall or April for spring match day, when the week after match day, they show all these programs that have not filled up yet. And then ISPs will go into that bucket too. And what's even better about that is for those of you maybe where timing doesn't work out, or if you feel like you can't get, let's say, the February deadline application materials together, but you have applied in the past, you can just apply in April to any ISPs that show up. You don't have to have applied previously in that same round to be eligible for those. So again, just little backdoor tricks for you. Like I said, no normal path. There's a lot of different ways to get through this. And that's why I want to make sure that you know what's going on, like what these different options are based on your unique education background. Now, of course, if everyone listening here is a DPD program senior year student right now, I'm sorry. I know some of those didn't all apply to you, but maybe they will in the future. So it's good to know about that. And finally, the 6th pathway that I've seen is for international students. And for that, it seems at this point that future education model programs are the best option, especially if they've already gotten a bachelor's degree in dietetics or nutrition in another country. Then at that point, you would be getting your transcript evaluated. You would want to speak to programs definitely before you apply. Make sure that they can review your transcripts as well. And then as long as you can confirm your eligibility there, then you can go through the application process. to me, what from our experience, we've seen it easier to get accepted to a graduate school than a DI alone, since graduate school tends to allow for the F1 visa and it can grant that. Sometimes you can use your OPT visa in order to stay and do the DI alone. That can work as well. But I would say 9 times out of 10, doing a program as an international student with through a graduate school is the best option. To summarize these pathways, there is no normal path. I want to, give you that perspective because perhaps you're just comparing yourself to other people that you're going to school with. And really, everyone is different. Timing is different. Goals are different. What's right for you financially, personally, all of that is, is valid and should be something that you're really incorporating into your decisions. And you do want to get opinions in the real world, not just professors and advisors. So thinking of dietitians that are maybe a few years into their career, or just older students or people that are maybe in programs that you're interested in. Try to get those opinions, and the more informed you can get, the better choice you can make for yourself on the positives and negatives of your different options. Make the choice or make the decision that is right for you, of course, and then research and get opinions. And then it does not have to be this stressful and confusing. We certainly help students through that process with Get Match coaching, but just know that you have to seek out advice. You've never done this before. It is confusing. But these are big decisions. They're decisions that are the difference between years of your time and tens of thousands of dollars. So it's worth your time to put in the effort to figure out what's best for you. And of course, things can change. Of course, you can, think you're interested in one thing now, and then 5 years later, you're maybe not. And that's kind of just how life goes. But the more informed, the more research you can do now, the better you're going to set yourself up later on. All right, that was part one, you guys. So I'm going to go into part two of this with the application strategies portion of the day. So now we've assumed your pathway, where you want to go within the different programs that you wanted to go through. So now we're going to get to the application part and talk you through some strategies here. As the intro to this, so you are ranked if you're going through and you're applying to dietetic internships, or even if it's just grad school on its own and it's not going through the computer matching process of the application, then you're still ranked because your competition is also applying, and so the program directors have to rank you and decide who they want the most, all the way down to the least. And they're doing that based on your GPA, your experience, and then most importantly, I think too, is the quality of your application. So how well you're putting together your application, the choice of programs you're applying to, the communication you have with directors outside of that, the quality of your references, your personal statement, your resume, your interview skills. All of that, I think, really can be the difference maker when, assuming your GPA, you're meeting the admissions requirements and the experience, you do have some experience, even if it's just real world experience, it's not dietetics related, it's something that can show transferable skills into your potential as a dietitian. So that's what's happening, and you can't ignore the fact that it is a competition. So you are trying to do the best you can and give yourself the best chance versus the other applicants that are also fighting for those same spots. One of the number one questions I get, so I'm just kind of threw this in here randomly, but it's so important that I just wanted to make sure I covered it. But there's 3 experiences that I think you should get as a student that would help you be able to sell yourself, market yourself in the application process. So the 3 experiences are foundational, leadership, and goal related. I'll explain what each of these are. So foundational experience means ideally you have experience under a dietitian, if not multiple experiences under a dietitian, whether that's in clinical, community, food service, sports nutrition, pediatrics, nutrition education, something foundational that allows you to be able to say that you do have exposure to the fields, that you know something that's similar to the dietetic internship, right? Which has those types of rotations and experience. So it is really helpful to have at least one, if not multiple, of these foundational experiences. And a really popular way to do this, if you haven't, or if you're finding it hard to do that, like by going to a hospital or to a WIC, or working in a food service setting, then you can look into virtual internships as well, or emailing dietitians and pitching yourself for a spot as like a virtual intern for them, maybe helping them with their private practice, or if they work in the community, being able to help support them in the field would be really, really good. And then the second experience is leadership. Leadership meaning maybe not like just president of a club or something. I mean, that definitely counts as leadership experience, but it could be in a work setting as a supervisor or manager, or it could be just a one time, or something you do just for like a couple weeks or a month, where you're maybe leading a cooking class, or you are leading a group of children through a summer club, like, or not a club, a camp, that like a diabetes camp or something. So it doesn't have to be this like position that you hold, but maybe just within the job that you have, that you are showing your leadership skills and you have a story about that. Because I can tell you, many, many times leadership is a selection criteria on directors, how they're ranking you, and you want to show you have that. And then also in your resume, to be able to have a leadership section looks really, really good. It's also a section in diecast when they want you to talk about your extracurriculars. So being able to have leadership experience is very important. Now, for me, I was late going into dietetics. I transferred in my junior year. And so the nutrition club was kind of all taken up with people that had been involved for the couple years before. So I was like, okay, I need leadership experience. So I'm just going to start a club on campus and make myself president of it, which is what I did. Kind of makes a ton of sense now being an entrepreneur, but that's something that you could look into. And what I did was start a club that helped with food insecurity on campus. So we raised money for the food bank. We volunteered at the food bank, and just did things like that to raise awareness and funds and volunteer. And that was a great experience, just not just to boost my resume, but really to grow and develop as a person. So it's a really great thing to put yourself out there, take initiative, and get that leadership experience before you get into the internship. And then finally, goal related experience. So this would be where you're wanting to get something related to your short term or long term goals, so that you can prove that you are really interested in those things because you've gotten experience in it. For example, if you go to write in your personal statement that your short term goal is to become a sports dietitian, but you don't have any sports experience, it's just a hard sell. It doesn't quite make sense or align. And so you want to make sure that whatever you're saying, that you have your goals in, that you have experience in that. All right, so that's my little intermission, 3 experiences to get as a student that will really help you stand out, and make sure you kind of check the box on all 3, ideally, to be competitive and to have this experience to talk about through the application, through your personal statement, your resume, your interview. Now, remember, this is a competition with 65% nationwide match rate, and about a half of these spots are distance. So when you're thinking about traditional programs, many of those will get over 80 applicants for less than 15 spots. In our DI toolkit, in that database that's in there, you can actually see for many of the programs how many applicants they do actually get and how many spots they have. So you can do your best to see which ones are very, very competitive versus which ones maybe get less applicants, have more spots, and are maybe a little bit less competitive. The other thing I want you to know is that you've never done this before. So you need to ask yourself too, like, what actions do you need to take to make sure you get a program and achieve your goals of becoming a dietitian? I know many people, they will feel like very low confidence, that they don't think that they can get in, and then they never even apply, and then they just give up on their dream of becoming a dietitian. I know people that do try, they don't get in. Maybe they just didn't do certain parts of the application very well. and then that they get some discouraged as well, and it just delays their career and everything. So you do want to ask yourself, what actions do you need to take to understand this process, to learn the strategies to stand out, to just give yourself the best chance. And the fact that you're listening to this, I mean, that's an action, right? You're taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to this and to make sure that you do know what you need to do in order to become a dietitian. All right, we are close to getting into the 3 strategies, which will really be positioned like 3 mistakes that we will then give strategy on based on each of those mistakes. But the application process, as I sort of alluded to when I mentioned personal statement, resume, you have that. You have the program research portion of it, where you need to decide where to apply. You have director communication, where you're trying to set up meetings, calls, Zooms with directors so that they can get to know you outside of the application. You have the DICAS application itself, which is the centralized application portal. And then there's references, the computer matching component for most programs. I know some FEM programs right now, you're applying directly to them, so they would not be involved in that. But I think there's rumors that that will all kind of go into one in the future. So for anyone that's not applying this year. And then there's all these extras, like if you want to do a distance program, you have to find your own preceptors. And then supplemental material, maybe an additional essay, graduate school applications, perhaps taking the GRE would be required. So those are all things you sort of have to fit into your calendar in this application process. So there's a lot, and there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of strategy, like I said, big and small things that you can do. But I'm going to go into like the 3 big areas, kind of like big picture areas of mistakes that I see people make. And then for more like specifically, mistakes on the resume or mistakes with the personal statement and strategies to help you there, those will all be in the DI toolkit. There's like a video on the whole diecast, like gives you a virtual tour of all this. So I'm not going to spend as much time on that, since you'll get all those resources in the toolkit. This is going to be more big picture, and I think a little bit more inspiring for you, to kind of see what it takes to stand out in the application process. All right, number 1, the first mistake is being a nervous Natalie. So Natalie thinks that director communication is scary. She's nervous. She doesn't know what she will say. Won't I be bothering them? What if I ask questions that are on, not the exam, sorry, that's a typo, but what if I ask questions that are on their website? Why would I need to do that? Like all that. Because sometimes I've mentioned director communication as part of the application process, and people are like, what? I didn't know that we should be contacting or communicating with them. So that's the big mistake. And what I say is like, why do you need to contact directors? You do want to create a professional relationship. You want to build rapport with them. It is a personal thing, right? To personal and professional, of course, but you want to create that connection. And then you do want to find out more about the program and how it aligns with your goals, so that it is a good program for you. You're kind of interviewing them in a way to make sure that it is a place where you'd want to continue your education. And then you can mention it in your personal statement. That looks really good, so that they know that you're very enthusiastic about their program. And it also helps reduce your nerves for the interview, because it's not this unknown person. They're not like scary in your mind. They're a regular person. They're friendly, which all directors are. And so it helps you feel a little bit more calm for the interview, which can really help you make sure you do a good job on that. So you can see there's so many benefits to contacting directors. Now, some mistakes that I see people make in their communication is making spelling or grammar errors, having poor professionalism, sharing no details about yourself or your background. That would be like saying, hello, Director Smith. I have a few questions about your program. And then you like go right into the questions. You don't even share anything about yourself, introduce yourself, or share like the experience you've had or your goals or anything like that. So that's a big mistake. And then finally, you might ask questions that are on the website, which would be really bad, or maybe are too general, to where, you just want to be a little bit more specific, get a little bit more usable information that would help you maybe mention that in the personal statement, or just get better information. It's not just like, a general question that wouldn't really be that helpful unless you really need to know the answer. But it's try to be more intentional with your questions. Okay, so that was Nervous Natalie. And then procrastinating Patricia. Procrastinating Patricia, if anyone can relate to procrastinating on projects, uh, here's Patricia and her plan, which I've heard countless times at this point. She says, I'll start in the summer. Okay, she doesn't start in the summer. I'll start right when I get back to school. Okay, I'll start right when I have that fall class that covers applications or covers diecasts or whatever. She doesn't really do anything then. And then Thanksgiving break. Okay, that didn't happen. You really want to have a break, and then now it's winter break, and now we're looking at, if it's the February deadline, like a month and a half before the application deadline. That's not the best idea, because as the deadline gets closer, the longer you wait, the quality of your application goes down. And if you recall from, how are you being ranked? You're being ranked by directors, by your GPA, your experience, and the quality of your application, which I said it was like the biggest part. So you want to give yourself a lot of time. If you are applying for that February 15th deadline, start today on all of this and just create that plan for yourself and start now with that. And if you are applying in the future, it's really never too early, especially with program research and director communication, so that you can find out what they're looking for and you have time to maybe get experiences that they suggest that you get to be more competitive. It's really never too early if you're interested. And then why to start early? You can spend more time on the program research, like I said, and contacting directors. You can add those resume boosters in before it's too late. You can focus on your grades really in your final semester. So I know many students, they get very stressed out in the fall when they obviously have a lot of things on their plate and they're trying to squeeze everything in that final fall semester. That would be for the spring applicants, where like that's the final one that's incorporated into your application GPA. So rather than like having the application stuff too, if you started earlier, then you would be able to focus on your grades in the final semester and not like have everything. And of course, it's just less stressful. So again, things that kind of like tough love lessons for you. I know that if maybe you're listening to this now and if it's a February deadline, you still have time. Everything is okay. You're just going to have to work at a quicker pace, every other day, every couple days, like be chipping away at things. But yeah, if you're listening to this and you have a year or something before, the fact that you know this, just getting it on your calendar, different things to do now is going to be really helpful in the long run. So with how to start early, again, the timing of this might not work exactly with those that might be listening to it right now in November, or December, but you do want to decide if you need support, whether that's getting a teacher involved, a mentor, and then or of course a Get Matched coach from our coaching program, and figuring that out as soon as possible. And then looking into program websites, 10 to 30 would be good. I know I mentioned 10 before, but the more the better, to really understand the big picture and just kind of get excited about the internship and like what you're applying for. And then define who you are as an applicant. That's a really important thing, a big part of what we do with coaching. But you want to understand like, what are your strengths? What are your experiences? What are your goals? So that you know what are the best programs for you, what questions to ask, and find out more about, kind of know who you are so that you know where you could fit in with other programs. And then fill in any experience gaps at that point too. That's another big first step when you're thinking about how to actually start. It's like, okay, what other, do I need one more experience on my resume in order to make sure I have kind of the marketing, or like I'm marketable as an applicant. All right, final application strategy mistake person here is self-doubt Samantha. So Samantha doesn't think she is ready to become a dietitian. She doesn't think she has what it takes. Maybe she has a couple C's in a science class. Who doesn't? And maybe she didn't get clinical experience and she feels like that's what she's heard. Everyone needs clinical experience before they apply, which is not true. but certainly is helpful, and maybe depends on the program you're applying to. But yeah, these are all sort of limiting beliefs and things she thinks are barriers that aren't necessarily barriers. So what happens when you do doubt yourself about something with this whole process? So you're likely to bring up negative things in your application, like have a really long paragraph about your weaknesses. I've seen that before. You won't sound confident in interviews. You just won't be able to persuade them in the way that you need to make sure that they feel confident in you. You will not feel motivated to put energy into your applications, and you just really won't go all in on yourself. I know so many applicants that they're like repeat applicants. They come to us after they did not get in the first time, and they admit that they just did not go all in. They didn't think they could do it, but they were like, I'll just put it together last minute and see what happens. And that doesn't really work. With something so competitive and something with so many different pieces, directors can see right through that if you don't go all in and make sure you're doing everything right and to the best of your ability. So that's what happens when you don't believe in yourself, you don't have that motivation. How do you increase your confidence in this whole process, right? Because obviously I'm kind of giving you the hard truth that it is competitive. You do need to have confidence in yourself. So here's some ways to do it that I have seen work really well. Number one, you want to get excited about your career as a dietitian. We just came out with an ebook, I think like this past month, called Dietitian Dream Jobs. And you can find it on our Instagram or just DM us on our Instagram to get a copy. But this could be one way that you could look at all the different career options. We have like 75 plus career opportunities for dietitians that could really help you start to picture what your life would be like, who you'd get to work with and help as a dietitian. Second, you would want to reflect on all the hard work that you've already done to prepare. This is kind of like sharing your wins with yourself so that you show that you have the evidence that you have already done hard things. You've accomplished a lot in your life so far, and just focusing on that helps you improve your confidence that you can do those things again in the future. Number three is understand the strategies of how to stand out in every step of the process. So you will do that when you download our dietetic internships toolkit. And of course, being here right now is going to help you do that. So you are doing that, and hopefully this will increase your confidence just by listening now. And then have an application game plan. So be able to know when you're doing what, have a checklist for what needs to get done, know who you are as an applicant, and use all the strategies that you can and get all the help that you can. And then finally, and this is optional, of course, but one way that we've helped people increase their confidence is with our Get Match coaching program. So you can hire an expert coach for that accountability, that strategy to make sure you're doing everything right, making all that hard work pay off in the application. All right, so the 3 mistakes to summarize here are: don't be nervous to talk to directors, have a strategy for that, and there's a lot of benefits to that as well. Don't procrastinate, make a decision on getting support, make sure that you know that that the quality of your application goes down the longer you wait, and that deadline does not move, right? It only gets closer. So this is your sign and your push today to get started. And then don't doubt yourself. Increase your confidence with whether it's with a coach or with some of those different things that I mentioned about getting excited about your career, reflecting on all your hard work that you've already done, and really just focusing on doing the best that you can in this process. All right, so that wraps up my presentation. We covered a lot today. I wanted to kind of make sure that you had everything around the different program types and then into the application itself. There's a lot more free resources, videos, checklists, additional webinars that you can listen to in our free dietetic internships toolkit. It is a must for any future dietitian, and you can find that at the link here. And then, so definitely get that. It's free, like I said, it's been downloaded thousands and thousands of times. So you definitely want to use that and take advantage of that. And then from there, I would invite you to follow us on Instagram at All Access Dietetics and then at Get Match Coaching, both those accounts. And that's where you'll find even more resources, funny memes about diecast and the application process and just life as a future RD. So you'll find a great community over there on that. And we do have TikTok as well, and we're slowly building that up, but you can follow us on TikTok there for even more reels and not reels, oh my gosh, I'm an elder millennial, for more TikToks and all that fun stuff. And then finally, since I wasn't there live, you can email me with questions, Jenny at allaccessdietetics.com. And that's where I will be happy to answer any questions that you have or point you in the right direction of a resource that we might have to help you. So I know this is a really stressful process. I've been doing this and helping students for the last 13 years. And even when I was going through the process myself, I was like, that was way too hard. There needs to be more support. That's why I created All Access Dietetics that long ago. But we are here to help you and just guide you through this, no matter what your specific situation is. So please don't hesitate to ask questions, and we will be happy to help. So I hope this was inspiring to you, and you can see kind of the pathway for how you will become a dietitian, kind of with things that you need to know, the actions that you need to take to make those dreams a reality. So again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. And I wish you guys all the best of luck on your journey to the RD. Thank you.